One, two, one, two, three, four. Give me a break, give me a break. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat.
It's the one that started it all for me. My Mandela effect ground zero. Kit Kat no longer having a dash. This is our revised reality. I'm your host, Jacobian. Welcome again. When first watching videos on the Mandela effect, many of the initial examples I viewed could quickly be dismissed. But when the Kit Kat one came along, I paused and took it quite seriously. I have vivid memories as a child, not just visually with what appeared on the wrapper, but with the chocolate wafer sticks as well. I'd begin by intimately biting off the tasty top layers before consuming the rest, and as sure as hell always had a chocolatey dash between the words Kit and Cat right there in my face. I then had the common reaction I think many of us have in the beginning. I figured the guy who produced the video was simply being lazy and clearly didn't bother to conduct a proper search. I even grumbled at the screen that of course they don't have the dash anymore because they updated their logo a long time ago. Companies do that all the time. I thought, this dummy just doesn't know how to do basic research. When seeking out the old wrappers myself, I fully expected to readily find Kit Kat with a dash. Much to my surprise, the only times I did, they linked a post relating to the Mandela effect. I also checked as many old commercials as I could find, confirming indeed there officially was never a dash. My jaw was on the floor. According to Nestle, you have to go all the way back to the 1930s when the candy bar was owned by Rowntree to find any packaging with a dash. The popular chocolate bar was named after Christopher Catling and the 18th century Kit Kat Club. That is KIT-CAT Club. Now isn't it interesting, and quite a coincidence, that the very club the candy is named after happens to always be spelled out with a hyphen? I know I find that to be interesting. Isn't it interesting that a knockoff brand from Singapore that's been in legal battles with Nestle over the appearance of their wafer fingers just so happens to mimic the remembered dash? I know I find that to be pretty damn interesting. And forget the wafers. How crazy is it they completely hijacked Kit Kat's well-known dash and Nestle doesn't even realize it? This is so specific, guys. Think about it. Of all the candies out there, you have a mass wave of those who insist it was Kit Kat that once had a dash. And the very thing it's named after always has a dash. The obvious knockoff brand has a dash, but the actual candy bar we're all familiar with now never did. Kit Kat Club and Take It are obscure items. We're talking about stuff as far back as the 1700s, 1930s, and an overseas imitator. No one can give me the conflation excuse with this. Now I'll admit, for an entirely different reason, I almost rationalized this case file away. As I settled down and considered the void within the lowercase t, I could see how it might get mistaken for a rectangular dash. Had it stopped here, had there never been any other changes brought to my attention, I eventually may have dismissed this whole phenomenon. So I awkwardly numbered this case file number 0, which frees me up to brand the next 5 cases as my foundational 5, these being the initial handful of Emmys that for me are 100% gold star, completely undeniable, with zero chance of being rationalized away. Now by no means am I downplaying the significance of the Kit Kat missing dash. It's as legit as can be. I'm just describing the thought process that occurs when being confronted with a reality that no longer matches our memories, and how we're conditioned to accept whatever change our new reality presents us, even when it conflicts with something we've always known to be true. It's a really strange hurdle to deal with. As a finishing side note, for those looking to strike Mandela gold when it comes to catching a change, really pay attention to logos with hyphens. The Emmy loves to change things with hyphens. Some well-known examples are the Coca-Cola Little Baby Dash. Same thing with Yoo-Hoo. You know, it's funny, every time I conduct my little slideshow experiments on people, once I get to Coke, they always tell me, well, it's certainly not the top one, which forces me to always contain a little smile. Most end up going with the wavy dash. Then you have Xbox, U-Haul, and Oral-B, where the hyphen is merging with the letter next to it. My first documented captured change happened to involve a dash. It was a super big deal to see it happen, so it's something I'll reserve for a dedicated video. I also had a special situation occur with the Oral-B logo, which is something I'll get into later. They're both just the craziest stories. It's hard to imagine anyone making them up, so hopefully I'll be believed. Anyway, bottom line is I think you'll increase your odds of catching this thing in the act by focusing on items with hyphens. That's all for now. I urge everyone to continually document their observations. I'll be talking again soon.